Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your questions about media and production 7 days a week. If you'd like to ask those questions, of course, you can get into Makana, where you not only can ask, but also vote on the questions and chat about the questions. If you're not in Makana, then you can just go to askofficehours.global. That is askofficehours.global, and that's open 24/7. So second that question pops into your head, just go to askofficehours.global, name question, and we will work it into the show. Let's get into that first question. Alexander?
First one's from Robert Shoji in Los Angeles. For key light, any opinions on flexible LED mats like the Amaran F22x versus cob lights with a softbox?
Go ahead, Guy.
It depends on budget and how you're going to be packing these things around, because the flexible lights, while they've come down in price, they still are up there. I have this model, the F22x, and I just want to show you real quick how it looks. So this is it folded. You can see that's what it packs down to. And this is a 2 foot by 2 foot. To get this equivalent on an aperture light dome, you're looking at something that's going to require some cases and some build time. Whereas these, the other nice thing is that you could fly them around. So if you want to get a light in a certain spot over somebody's head, it's so much easier hardware-wise, because you don't have to have as much counterweight and things like that, because it's not that big. And then it does come with the egg crate, and this is the diffuser, and it's pretty easy to put together. It's not as hard as the actual soft boxes from the Aperture line. So again, it just depends on what you want to do. And this model is the bicolor, so it can shift from daylight to incandescent 3200. I think it even goes below 3200. The controller will also take batteries. So if you want to put a V-mount battery, that at least mine is V-mount, it'll last a very long time because it's so efficient. I also have, in this same kind of lineup, you're seeing me lit with two IntelliTechs. And IntelliTechs used to cost a lot. These things have dropped down in price. The 2-light kit that you see in this example fits in something almost small enough to bring on a plane. So that's the other thing why I have these, and I've rented these out to other people locally, is because it just packs down super fast. If you're going into a corporate building or something like that, you can kind of pre-build it, stage it nearby, and just go in, do your shoot, and get out, because it's not super heavy to get these things in and out. So I love them, and I think that I'm seeing on the gaffer groups that these are becoming more and more of a standard out there. I'm seeing them in rental kits, in the grip trucks. So people are starting to really transition over, because Lightmat is the company that has these up for like $3,600. So to be able to get them for $700 now is insane.
Alex?
And the thing that I've used the most is Lightmat. This is a picture of, you can see us using them here. This was because, they came in the truck, and they came out, but they are super light, super easy to set up. And so I strongly prefer them, when we can use them, for this kind of setup. They are a little bit, these are, I haven't ever bought light mats. I just rent them, so for what I'm doing, but they're great solutions. In general, I would say I strongly prefer the LED mats for interview style, just because of the speed of setup and how easy it is to load in. But what I would say is that, as Guy said, there's some cost issues even now. I mean, you could probably cover the same space for less money with a lot of other lighting options. But if I was given the choice, and I'm doing interviews specifically for key lights, I would use some kind of flexible mat if I had the resources to do so.
Next question.
Paul Wallace in Bastrop County, Texas is asking, what is the greatest technological achievement or breakthrough in production at the Olympics so far?
Alex?
I would say the availability of the streams. Everything's available on YouTube TV and Peacock and everything else. I haven't seen anything that I thought was the most amazing thing that I haven't seen anything that just popped out for me. In general, barring a couple first couple days of issues with sound, I think that there was just some overmodulation and some odd things with a variety of different things. I think that, and we saw yesterday, I think with the Simone Biles one, we saw some breakup, in the wireless camera that was right in front of her. But outside of those things, I haven't really seen many anomalies. So it's been a very, very solid thing over a very large space. And overall, the coverage has been really, really good. And again, the availability of it, I don't remember an Olympics where I mean, the last Olympics was the first step towards that in 2020. But this Olympics, I've recorded everything on YouTube TV. And I just go back and watch the whole piece, part of the piece. I skip through the pieces. And a lot of things I wouldn't normally watch. Like if you haven't seen the end of the women's rugby bronze with the United States, just watch the last 5 minutes. Just that's all you got to do. I mean, watch the whole thing. They're amazing athletes, but the last 5 or 10 minutes is pretty good, pretty fun watch. I would have never done that, but I saw the news. I have the whole game on my on YouTube TV. I do think that from what I've seen, Peacock kind of organized everything a little bit more effectively than YouTube did. But YouTube still is. I mean, it's just been really, really easy to watch pretty much anything that I wanted to look for. So I think that it's the distribution has been the biggest breakthrough, I think, so far.
And YouTube just made it so easy. It's like I'm going to click one button and record all of the Olympics.
Were you able to record all of it with one button? Because it gave me this thing. Okay, because it gave me a thing like a week ahead that says, do you want to record these? But I couldn't find something that just said all Olympics. I had to go through and do every team.
Oh my goodness. I probably would have ran out of patience for that. But somebody on here
it only
said
took a minute. I was just like, this is silly, but yeah.
But to your point, there are things that I would have never watched. Like I watched, I think, Rugby Sevens one time when I was on a layover in Australia, and it was like the tournament, and it was Australia versus the All Blacks. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah. But then it's never on TV. My wife played rugby in college. And so having her sit next to me and explain the game and then get really into it, and then being able to be like, okay, I'm not going to watch any commercials. I'm going to fast forward through everything. Oh, maybe this, but it's like it's an embarrassment of riches in terms of choice. It's just great.
So is rugby one of these games that's actually interesting to watch if you don't know anything about rugby?
Yeah. All I can say is I'm super impressed with rugby players. Like I've always have been for men, and then the women, it is a beast of a game. Like I just look at it as someone who used to play football, going, oh no, that would be too much hitting. And then I was a lineman. Like I just look at it like too much hitting, like just too much. Like that'd be too many owls going on, for that. But it's a brutal game to watch, and I don't fully understand scrums and who has the ball and why they have the ball. I'm sure that if I watched more of it, I would see it. They just don't. The availability is a little off here, but there's those are things, being able to see something in the news, like the Korean sharpshooter, the woman who's and then the Turkish guy that like 50-year-old guy that looks like he came out in his t-shirt without any gear at all and just kind of got a silver medal. Like I was like, okay, I bet you he spent a lot of time in backwaters of Turkey shooting. It's fun when you see the news and you're not trying to figure out how to get to it. Oh, I know it's in there somewhere. I very quickly search, and usually within 60 to 90 seconds, I'm watching whatever I saw on the news that might be interesting to see. I will say that it has taken the pressure off of watching it, which is a little bit of a bummer because like when we watched some of the stuff yesterday, we already knew who won. That kind of thing. We were kind of watching the replay. There wasn't quite the same level of stress.
Nigel?
I was just going to say, I'd be very impressed if they could get a camera inside one of those scrums. Because as an ex-rugby player, that is where the real action happens. And that would get an R rating.
Guy?
Yeah, some of the shots that I've seen are just amazing, but I'm enjoying just being a viewer and being able to watch it in a different style than ever before, which is being able to hear the audio based on which selection that I pick here. So I can watch 4 things at the same time and then just bounce around. And when I want to take one full screen, I just click. And this is, just jamming on this little remote right here using the Apple TV. So I think that to me as an end user, that's the biggest breakthrough in addition to the different camera angles and actually replay. Replay is blowing my mind how much, knowing now what an EVS does, what they cost and how many that they have. I'd say replay was probably the biggest breakthrough because the amount of that they're throwing at this whole event, it's hundreds of units.
And the with that 4-up started with in YouTube, and it is definitely I found it more useful for football. Like when I was watching it, because I knew kind of all the teams. I found that the mixture, at least in YouTube, you're watching that's in Peacock, is that right?
This is Peacock, yeah.
So YouTube is just like a straight 4-up, and it is. I found that the games were so different that I didn't use it as much as I thought I would for the Olympics. But I love the 4UP. I mean, it's just such a great way to just kind of watch a bunch of things and make decisions later.
And think about how big TVs are now compared to how they were even 15 years ago. I mean, your 4UP is bigger than some people.
If you've got a 4K, if you've got a 4K with a 4UP, you're looking at 4 1080p streams.
Marvelous. Next question.
Douglas Carmichael asks, NBC Sports has a 1-hour daily TikTok live show as part of their Paris 2024 Olympics coverage. With TikTok on the verge of being banned in the U.S., why are we seeing a major media company invest in the platform?
Alexander.
Well, TikTok is an incredibly useful and still very viable platform, so I think people are just going to milk it for what it's worth until it's no longer around. To put it another way, if somebody came to you and said, that Lamborghini that you have, I know you like it, but in 6 months we're going to have to take it away from you because it's damaging the environment. Wouldn't you drive it every single day as much as possible? You probably would.
Alex?
Yeah. So I don't know if it's on the verge of being banned. I mean, something passed. I mean, people have swung, have waved some flags. So there's usually until we get to the very end, and you wouldn't make any decisions. Like if someone said to Alex's point, if someone said, we're going to take we've decided we think we're going to take away your Lamborghini. Of course, you're going to drive it all the time. And you're going to go, well, I'm not going to stop driving it because maybe they won't take my Lamborghini. And then, and it's incredibly popular. I don't know whether they're really going to turn TikTok off. I mean, I think that that's the politics of that could be pretty ugly. Because it keeps embedding. TikTok's starting to run a campaign talking about, and this is going to make it harder. TikTok's spending a lot of money right now on advertising, talking about people who have built huge businesses or businesses, and all these average folks that have been able to build businesses on top of TikTok. And I think it is going to make a difference. Like people are going to take it badly, and I think that, so I think that's, I'm not sure. And you're always trying to innovate for the next platform. You don't want to, the biggest problem that large platforms have is not taking advantage of the ones that are small. When you have a big opportunity to get lots and lots of viewers, leveraging that into other formats is exactly what you should be doing. So they should be constantly looking at the new formats, whether it's, doing things on X and Facebook, and you want to be pushing into all of those because you have a chance right now. You have a ton of energy. It's super hard to get viewership on a lot of these platforms from scratch. And for big organizations like NBC Sports, they can push all that out and build up following and build up all those things using these kinds of things. It's a huge opportunity for them.
Alexander?
It just occurred to me because if it does actually go away, it's going to continue to be around in other countries like Canada. And in fact, actually, they just released TikTok Notes, which is available here but not available in the U.S., and it strikes me that a very easy workaround, if you still want to use TikTok and you're an American business, you could probably get a P.O. box in Canada, get an Apple ID, log into the Canadian App Store, and still use TikTok. So I don't think banning it is really going to stop a lot of people.
Next question.
Next question is from Mike Edwards in Brooklyn, New York. Morning, everyone. With the Propresenter 7 joining the never-ending list of companies switching to a subscription model, what does the panel think of FreeShow as an alternative?
Guy?
Yeah, I watched this video a little bit this morning, and man, that's a tough one because it comes down to budget. And we saw this happen with like Photoshop when they switched over to the subscription model. There's years and years and years of development and listening to end user feedback with ProPresenters. So for the people that use it, they've said things like, hey, we need multi-user. Hey, we need an iPad. Hey, we need a confidence monitor. Hey, we need SDI output. Hey, we need multi-monitor layouts. So I would just pay the man. It's just like, if you need those features, it's tried and true. Pay the $59 and call it a day because it's amazing software. It's just hands down. That doesn't even, I looked at that software and it was like, written by a kindergartner. It's just a joke compared to ProPresenter.
Alex?
Yeah, I mean, in general, with all of these things, download it, play with it. Does it do the thing that you want it to do? I think that you're going to probably, and if it does, then maybe you don't have to spend money on it. But I agree with Guy. I mean, my problem is I've downloaded Affinity and Pixelmator and everything else, but I still have a subscription to Photoshop because there's things that it does that they can't do, and so it hasn't really. I've thought about, and I've killed pretty much every other Adobe subscription. Just because I'm just not using enough of it. I'm like, I'll turn it on if I need it, kind of thing. But with Photoshop, I haven't been able to find a solution.
Next question.
Harold Williams in Portsmouth, Virginia asks, I'm in the market for a PoE++ 90-watt injector. I used to buy products with the Underwriters Laboratory label because it was tested. Are there any nationally recognized testing laboratories for AV equipment?
Jason.
Well, I consider OWC Docs to be an AV equipment piece, at least for my rig. And so I reached out to Larry O'Connor, OWC's CEO, and he said Allion and GRL, the two labs that they use to be certified for Thunderbolt by Apple and then Intel. And then after it passes the certification, Apple and Intel actually have their opportunity to give input directly before it actually gets the full certification.
Next question.
Chris Widener in Indianapolis, Indiana is asking, what software or service are you using for event registration that also allows room booking at the hotel blocks?
Alex?
It's all over the place. Like, I don't know if anybody is using the same one. I don't, I don't have to do that very often because I do virtual events, and so I don't need to put anybody in hotels. But I do sign up for things, and I'm pushed towards those things. So if you go to something like you're going to sign up for SIGGRAPH or NAB, you're going to see these services pop up. But I have not seen a single one that is the same. Like I would imagine that CVent probably has a solution that CVent is kind of the obvious one that may be the one you want to look at because they've kind of cornered a lot of that market. So that's the only one that comes off the top of my head. But it seems to be everyone picks a new one. Like, oh, I'm not happy with that one, I'm going to go to another one. And it seems like it changes relatively often too. I don't think anyone's crushing this part of the process right now.
I can't believe that there are apps that aren't just little drop downs and that somebody spent the weekend in.
I think
a web developer. I've seen a lot of them that are just kind of rough.
I think the problem also is that like people. A lot of people that go to conferences don't want to buy in the blocks and don't want to buy with. I mean, you have to be a relatively. I don't know how to say this, but you're an unsophisticated traveler if you're buying in the blocks. That's the problem that they have, is that anybody who travels a lot wants to control everything about how they register in. They're not even thinking about using that purchase process, and it's important to the organization that does it because a lot of times, like for instance in San Francisco, this is the inside baseball, is that in San Francisco you're supposed to guarantee a certain number of hotel rooms to be able to use Moscone Center. They've relaxed that, but that was the reason SIGGRAPH never came to San Francisco, which is crazy. But they have to buy through the blocks to prove that you brought those in. And so it's important for the organization to try to run these blocks and try to promote the blocks because sometimes, again, the cities often own the convention centers and they do it to drive hotel nights, and they have to achieve certain numbers. And so that becomes kind of this dance that happens. But a lot of people like me, I have my services that I use, and I'm not interested in buying through a block, and I think that's the real challenge, is that people don't want to deal with someone else running that order.
Nigel?
Yeah, and you'll also find people like Marriott actually have a group booking service, or at least they used to. So if you know what hotel you want and it's a Marriott, poke around. We've used that before, and it's not quite as good as these third-party. And if you got like 10,000 people, it would be too many. But if it's a few hundred, the amount of work getting the data to the third party is not greatly different from sometimes getting the work to the Marriott-type group booking teams.
Next question.
From Paul Wallace in Bastrop County, Texas, and in the Starlink Plaza, Boring Bodega, what do you think of the new office under construction for X.com for the content moderator team departing San Francisco to go to Starlink Plaza, Texas, next to the Boring Bodega? And then he's got some slides there.
Alexander.
Well, it looks good. It looks like it's a good size space. I don't know what your entire construction plans are, but As someone who has worked in a lot of offices and cares about audio and who's very sensitive to acoustics, if you haven't, I would strongly consider some kind of acoustic treatment solution. I find it very fatiguing in a lot of office spaces because they're not really built for acoustics. So to listen to people talk for extended periods of time in meetings, it can be really hard. So that is my only feedback at this time.
Alex?
Yeah, I under construction so quickly, I don't think that the last straw that Elon Musk was talking about was really the last straw, because it seems like that usually takes more time. So anyway, that's all I'm saying. He might have planned it for a little while.
Next question.
Vic Hernandez in Springfield, Missouri is asking, for video conferencing, if EpocCam is working for me, am I safe continuing to use it? I have an old Mac Mini that won't run the current operating system.
Alexander?
Well, it sounds like you answered your question there. If it's working reliably, don't change it because you'd have to spend the money on buying a new one. EpocCam is something I tested a few years ago, and I didn't really get too much involved with it, but it seemed like a decent solution, although I found other more robust solutions at the time. But I'd say if it's working, continue to use it.
And then the only other thing that I would keep an eye on, Vic, is that there is usually a 2 or a 3 year period, sometimes 4, after Apple has moved on to a new operating system, that they stop supporting new security updates for an older system. So I'm not sure if you're running El Capitan or Monterey or one of the older ones, but whatever system you're on, just keep an eye on, is Apple still actively supporting new security updates for that system, and put that into your calculation for how long do you want to hang on to that machine. Next question.
Andre Dole in Berlin says, I love office hours for these moments. Yesterday, Guy mentioned the Viz NDI Performance and Networking class, which is free at the moment. What a great resources of networking information. Very much recommended. Thanks, Guy.
Guy?
Yeah, it was really cool. In fact, and Andre sent me a private Discord, and I even took a picture of it on my watch because it made me smile. He said the same type of thing. You know, it was a great lead and already learned a new thing, and that's what he loves OH. I was actually going to send that to Alex. I mean, you've built a great thing here, Alex, to allow people to be able to share and then help somebody else out. And I mean, that was a $600 course, and right now it's free. So I took that course and I studied the heck out of it. So I have the certification. It's worth, if you're into NDI, it's worth going through, because there's little things like, I couldn't remember the name of the app yesterday. It was Wireshark, and the iPerf. That's why I went back into it to go digging around. iPerf is an app that allows you to test the speed of packets going through and really inspect things on your network. So little things like that people figured out. And this is written by NewTek, so it was before the acquisition by Viz, and it's still very pertinent information. So if you're into NDI, I suggest going in and taking a look at that. And again, you never know whose project you're going to help touch and improve by just being able to answer somebody's questions. So I'm happy to be a part of the community and help somebody on the other side of the world. I mean, Andre's in Berlin, so what a great thing.
Definitely is one of the magic pieces of office hours, that we're here 7 days a week to answer your questions. And remember, if you do have questions, even if you're not watching the show live, you can always go to askofficehours.global. It's askofficehours.global, or hit the QR code and we'll get your questions into the show, maybe even today. Next question.
Chris Widener in Indianapolis, Indiana is asking, what's your go-to for remote links? I've grown increasingly fond of tailscale with headscale for coordination server.
Go ahead, Alex.
I'm assuming this is dealing with jumping into the cloud or going into another computer. I mean, we're using Splashtop a lot. I know a lot of people are using Parsec. I'm assuming that that's what you're talking about, but let us know.
Jason?
I adore tailscale. I most recently upgraded to Screens 5, which automatically integrates tailscale into remote desktop sharing for Mac OS. And like just having those two immediately together with a free tailscale account, just being able to just bring everything together and cluster all the devices together just instantaneously is a phenomenal win.
Yeah, I recently put tailscale on a machine because I was running a Docker application on my Mac Studio to do some photogrammetry, but I was having to travel, but I still wanted to play with it while I was on the road. And remarkably easy to get it set up. I found myself wishing that I could phone a friend with Guy as I was trying to set up my little tailscale instance with the GL.iNet router, but I should have asked the question on office hours. Next question.
This one's for me. What does a reliable light meter cost, and what is a good brand? Do I have to spend over $1,000?
Jason Bache.
Oh boy, I really hope not. The one that I've used forever is this guy. It's the Sekonic L358, and it really I got it. It's really for flash photography, but it will also do constant light metering and the differentiation metering. And boy, I hope you don't have to spend $1,000 because this would be $200 and it works great.
Jesse.
You do not have to spend $1,000. So the light meter that I use is the Sekonic letters and numbers. This one, I do really wish I had ponied up for the more expensive version that has a spot meter instead of just the ambient meter. Would have been useful. Wished I had it on most of the film shoots that I've done since I got it. But yeah, even at under 400, well, till you put in tax, about $400, we'll get you across the finish line on a light meter.
And Alex.
Yeah, where things get expensive is when you start doing color meters. So light meters will stay. You should be able to spend $600-700 on a Sekonic L858D or whatever is probably going to be something that is going to be most what you need. It has the spot metering as well as the ambient metering. So for a light meter, you're probably fine. But as soon as you start going into color, then those things start to jump to $1,700, $2,000 pretty quickly. A lot more tools. But all of us, as you may have noticed, are referring to Sekonic because they have cornered that market. I don't know of any. I'm not sure if I've ever seen anything else on set other than some version of everything from a old to a new Sekonic.
Alexander.
I don't expect this to be accurate, but I'm curious, and if maybe Jason's done a comparison to because he owns a light meter, but I don't know how accurate these apps are. But I've started using this app on my iPhone called Kelvin Meter. And I've been using it to measure my lights because my lights don't have a digital display that shows me the Kelvin temperature. There's just a dial, and it's not super accurate. So
there was one that Alex turned me on to years ago that was pretty decent for keying.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is they're pretty close. I mean, the Sekonics are going to give you a lot more control. They're going to be able to get you to that control faster. There's some that will. I think there's some that have a cap on them that you can put over your camera, so that pops over. So it basically builds a diffuse, view of what it's looking at. And I'll be honest that for day in, day out, that works most of the time. Like it gets you close enough for government work, so to do most of what you're doing. But you don't want to show up on a set and tell anyone anything about it if you don't have a Sekonic in your hand. So that's the main thing is that as we all know that production, like most of life, is a confidence game, and coming without the tools that people expect is going to have them not listen to you, not just then but forever. so don't you don't want to be flashing that around on a set and saying that what the color temperatures are. If you're fixing stuff at home, I think that your phone will probably get you pretty far for what you're doing.
Jesse?
And there's no subscription price on the Sekonics.
Next question.
Douglas Carmichael's asking, Minisforum has the MSA1 mini PC that uses an AMD Ryzen processor. Considering the issues with the 13th, 14th generation Intel CPUs, would this be a safer choice for a home lab?
Guy?
I don't know about safer. I think if the 13th and 14th gens were that bad, they would have been recalled. I think that I would go with the Intel person. I did look up this one just to see what it was all about. And by the time you add in the processor, so the one that you're looking at for $259 that you link to, it's without CPU. When you click the CPU, it jumps up to $729. So now all of a sudden, it's on par with the other one, which has the two SFP ports and the ability to add a graphics card and the ability to add two additional NVMe's. So you could put massive amounts of storage in the MS01, I think is the popular model. So I would go with what the other guys have gotten. I mean, Jeff Keithley's got his vote of approval on that, and so does Jonas. So those are two guys I trust. And there's a couple of guys actually on the other one. as far as virtualizing it, we had a guy in the group on Jeff Keithley's forum that virtualized it, and he was running NDI Bridge. And so we thought that NDI Bridge needed a graphics card to run. And so that was a kind of a wake-up call that NDI Bridge could run on that machine and virtualize. So you could actually have it doing multiple things. So I would get the other model.
Next question.
Kyle Hammond in Chicago, Illinois is asking, what is Rosetta for Mac and what does it do?
Jason?
Rosetta gets its name from the Rosetta Stone, which of course is how we finally cracked hieroglyphics. This is a rename or a name reuse from the PowerPC days when Rosetta was designed to let PowerPC things run on Intel things. And in this case, it is to allow Intel things in the Mac Mini Silicon era to run on Intel things on the Mac Mini Silicon things. So consider it just an extremely low-level virtualization that allows for real-time code transcription.
And really, if anybody remembers around the 2005 switch from PowerPC to Intel, when you were running Rosetta, it worked, but it was noticeable. The performance of the Apple Silicon, and when it's doing that translation layer to get from an x86 app to go ahead and run an Apple Silicon, it's really fast. So kudos to the Apple team for just quietly sliding that in there and making it just work. Almost everything I'm using today is universal, but occasionally I get that old app, and very thankful it's there. Next question.
Chris Widener in Indianapolis, Indiana is asking, what the storage costs of cloud are making people starting to flinch. Colocation is almost a dirty word in some environments. What are your self-hosting backbone must-haves?
Jesse?
People flinching about the cost of cloud storage says more, I think, about the people than it does about the cloud storage. It's, you get more terabytes per dollar than you've ever gotten before, and it was never terribly expensive. But to answer the question, you need, hard drives and a server and the intellectual technology to run it. So somebody who would know how to set it up and keep it running for you. Hard drives and enclosures alone would cost more. Buying that once, 15, 20 terabytes twice over because you want to be redundant. Buying that once in 1 year would cost less than your cloud storage would cost more than your cloud storage options. So, I'm not understanding the math on this one.
Wait, hold on. We're getting a live report from the Cochrane Cloud. Guy.
It's coming through. It's the ticker tape. An IT engineer, somebody to really design and spec this thing, because you want security. It would be first thought is, you get somebody that knows how to properly set up a firewall so that the data is protected. When I think of why you would want to co-locate, I think of it as security as far as physical security, hackers not being able to get in, but also having redundancy. So if the main connection goes out, somebody cuts a fiber line, how do you fail over to the next one? I also think a lot about cooling, power generators. All those things have to come into play when you're talking about putting somebody else's, especially if it's a mission critical type of environment. And this is why AWS, Azure, Oracle, all these big clouds have thrived, because they've invested in this infrastructure. And something as simple as Mac Stadium for $100 a month it's pretty cool when you think about what that machine's doing up there. What I'm trying to build here is taking Synologies with hundreds of terabytes, and that's where the savings starts to kick in for egress fees out of something like AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. That's where you get nailed. Is just those fees become astronomical. So that's the reason why people will co-locate, and they try to find a place that doesn't charge you the egress fees, where it's just a flat fee. And whether you can find that or not, you got to kind of hunt around, because AWS isn't it.
Jesse?
Guy, is there a way to make self-hosting more cost-efficient than cloud services?
Well, it depends on if you can take a hit, So that's the part. And when I first told Alex, hey, I got this fat pipe, he's just like, it scares me, it's like he's scared because of the risk of failure. And I get it. So there's this thing of, hey, if we're just supplying NDI bridge feeds to the group for cutting for training, no big deal. But if all of a sudden I say, hey, I'm going to put 20 Resolve Mac Minis here so that everybody can cut, and we're going out to air, and there's going to be 1 million people watching. That's a different ballgame. So that's where it starts to come into play. Is just what's at risk for failure. What's the cost of failure? That's the question.
Next question.
From the QR code, Gabriela Shesho Mistiera and Suse Marie is asking, in this age, how would you handle being interviewed by the NABJ or being a presenter at one of their events if this was important to you or your staff?
Alex?
I think the NABJ is the National Association of Black Journalists, I believe, is the thing. I'd love to talk to them. So how would I handle it? I would say yes, and then I would show up. I think that would be a really, given the work that I do in Africa and a variety of other places around the United States, outside of my day job, I think I probably have a lot to talk about. So I think that I'd be definitely interested.
Jason?
Yeah, I full stop. I think it would be an honor, and it would be one of these things that I would absolutely do in person. It wouldn't be a Zoom in, it wouldn't be a call in. It would be an on-stage thing, and it would be an incredible experience.
Next question.
Another QR code from Gene J. Anthony in Skokie, Illinois. We are working to upgrade our server to NextCloud. We have 10 terabytes TerraMaster network-attached storage. Do I connect NextCloud to the TerraMasterOS using the build-in TM configuration, or do everything in NextCloud by providing TM credentials? How best to protect the 14?
Alex?
Yeah, so this bounced around for a while. I apologize to Gene. It was me trying to find somebody that was the right person on the panel to answer this question. So this kind of sat around for a little while, me trying to figure it out. So we're just addressing it that I don't know. So I don't say this very often, but we just don't know. This is NextCloud. It actually looks like a pretty interesting set of services that allows you to kind of control a lot of what you're doing, with your data. And so I have to admit that the question has me fascinated about NextCloud, and maybe it's something that we should bring them in and take a look at it on a Friday or something like that. But I don't know enough about it, but I am now interested in what they do. So we'll see if we can bring them in maybe to talk about it.
And Mickey in the chat says that we need to bring someone who is knowledgeable about high-end data center engineering, design, construction like JJ. But to migrate using NextCloud would be Mickey's recommendation. Hope that helps. Next question.
Ronnie Hofso in Tromsø, Norway is asking, Alexander Knight's cameras seem to have some sort of exposure changes, probably from the displays. How should I reduce the light effect on the large displays in front of me?
This is something that I've run into as well, Ronnie, and I found that I almost have to have a different mode when I'm looking at when I'm in a space like this where I'm really close to the monitors. Everything's in dark mode, and I have the brightness way down because I don't want what I'm researching on the computer to all of a sudden be showing up for me. But go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, some of this has to do with it is the variance, or not. It's how close are the monitors and how bright are your lights. So as you increase the brightness of your key lights, the monitors have less impact on it. So as you're opening up the camera and having it relatively low light, you'll start to see things changing in front of the person. But like I'm getting not blasted, but I get a lot more light, and my monitors are a little further away. And to CJ's point, almost everything that I do is in dark mode because light mode is the devil. So anyways, anytime, so I hate bright things. And so most of my monitors around me are all pretty dark. And so, or in dark mode, I'll choose dark mode every moment that someone will let me choose dark mode. And so as a result, I end up with not a lot of light that's being shined on me in general, but also the monitors are pretty far away. So those are the things that you want to look at there, but it's really it's the proportion of light that the monitor is providing. If you have a really large source that's fairly powerful, that's kind of overriding everything else, then it doesn't matter as much. And then dark mode and I don't turn mine down very much, but they're pretty far away. Mine are 2 or 3 feet away from me. So
I had the problem. I didn't have the problem in my old space. I was farther. I'm a little crammed in here for the next couple of weeks, so I'm dimming at the moment. Next question.
Next question is from me, it looks like. Zach Stelsmith in Chautauqua, New York is asking, I have an ATEM Mini Pro ISO and I'm having trouble getting both the video and audio ISO files to play on my Windows machine. The main program feed and audio are fine. Is there a step I'm missing here?
Jason?
I'm going to pass this to Alex. I think I misunderstood the question, and other than a codec or a piece of software, I'm not sure what you could be missing.
Alex.
Well, the things that we don't know right now are what your PC is, and what your drive speed is. So the two things that you want to look at here, I'm assuming what you're talking about is that you're recording ISOs of the show or of what you're doing, and then you're opening that file in Resolve on your PC. The two places that you're going to see the PC start to chunk, or in any computer, whether it's a PC or Mac, is if the drive speed isn't fast enough to deliver all those feeds back to you. So that would be the one. And then the second one would be processing, because decoding H.264 is actually a fairly processor-intensive solution. So depending on how old your processor is and what support it has, it may actually have trouble playing back H.264 at speed. And you also have issues where H.264 is a long GOP codec, and so you end up with not a lot of because it is not. Because it's interframe and not intraframe, you may have issues with playback there as well. So those are the things that you are probably running into, is it not being able to process the H.264 because of the processor, or not being able to play it back because of the drive speed.
Next question.
Next question is for me. What new gadgets have you acquired lately that you are finding useful?
Jason?
All right. CJ knows where I'm going with this. Adam Savage turned me on to this one, and this is the dumbest, best thing you've ever seen. So look, this is an extremely precise tape dispenser, and what it lets you do is load tape in without having to feed it in. So, if you want 31 millimeters of tape, that's it. It's done. It's super fast. Is it a waste of money? I don't know.
How much does that
spectacularly cool.
130.
Like $100. Right at impulse level, Alex. Do it.
And the big thing is, not only can you have that precise dispensing, but there's like 7 or 8 presets. So if you were just packing your whole life up, you have a preset for medium box, small box, extra large box.
No reason to have that. But
no, there is every reason to have that $700 light meter guy. It is perfect.
Go ahead, Nigel.
Yeah, well, I recently acquired the new MacBook Pro, which I really love, but I wanted to sort of jam a story into this. We're moving, and when we sold our home, they bought the television in situ. So I had to buy a new television. So I went to Amazon, and I said, that's a very nice television. It's a lot of money. I wonder if they have it, pre-boxed. And they did. It was 35% cheaper if I bought a box that was perfect, pre-opened. The downside, which I didn't know in this, is when they deliver it, they have to set it up, because there is a huge fraud going on of people buying second, open boxes, getting something from the dump, putting it back in the box and sending it back. And so they get to keep the television and claim it. So sometimes if you spot a deal, the downside is someone has to come in and actually open and set it up for you.
Next question. I'm sorry, Jesse.
I got a cute little gadget here. It is the OC Ghost Stream Duet, and it's kind of nice as a competitor for the ATEM Mini, because it has SDI and HDMI. It's got a SD card for media playback. The only thing it's missing is balanced audio.
Guy?
So I was showing this little toy to Alexander yesterday. He happened to be locally coming down from Canada to the U.S. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see it because you have to wear the goggles that accompany this. This is the Beam Pro. It's a $199 Android phone. Essentially, it's Google heavy, but it's spatial video. So I'm dipping my toe into spatial video, and you'll notice that the cameras are much farther apart than what you get on an iPhone. The results are pretty incredible for the price.
What's the resolution and frame rate?
It's 1080 30, and it's H.264, so the quality isn't great, but it at least lets me get my toe in the water and start to generate files and edit them and see what that world's like. So that it's nothing spectacular, but it is fun to be able to download the Peacock app. And this instead of having the big MetaQuest goggles or the, I don't own the Apple Vision Pro, this generates my experience. I have a 120-inch TV equivalent to watch the Olympics with just this instead of having to carry around anything super big and heavy. So that's what I like about it.
Alexander?
Not necessarily a new gadget to share. I actually have a question about that tape machine now. Does that work with any tape? Can I put gaffer's tape? Because if the answer is
You
yes.
know what? I'm going to take that a step further. I have put the Velcro zip tie stuff in, and it doesn't really love it, especially the thick stuff, but you can perfectly measure out the Velcro zip tie. That to me was just a total win.
Yeah, definitely works with gaff tape too. Alex?
The one that is funny that the guy brought up the smaller one. I have one that I bought and I can't find. And now I'm going to end up buying it again because I'm trying to do tests and I've just given up trying to find it. I'm probably going to ruin it because everyone's going to buy one now. This is the one that I'm getting. This is the Kandao QCam, which I bought years ago when it came out, and this shoots 4K 60. Per eye. And I bought it and I just was like, oh, and then I got so into spherical 180 degree, I stopped, I just set it down. Like it came in while I was moving towards doing way more spherical stuff. And now I can't find it. It's around somewhere, but I've given up. So I'm going to be getting that because I want to try to get it before I shoot on Sunday. We're going to be streaming. I want to compare the two. So we're going to be streaming from my iPhone at Twit on Sunday, if you haven't seen that yet. So we're going to be streaming to Stream Voodoo, and you can go. I'll post something. I'll post it to. I'm going to post a reminder inside of Discord in a little bit. So you want to sign up for that if you have an Apple Vision Pro. So we're streaming directly from the camera from an iPhone to the Vision Pro, and and by the way, I'm going to let you know that we're going to build a map of who has Apple iPhone 15 Pros in the world. So stay tuned for that. You're going to see an announcement in Discord because we want to do more streams like this and possibly find bands and things to do. And what we want to do is be able to send someone over to shoot something that might be interesting. I started streaming some stuff. I captured a concert or part of a concert or a song from a concert the other day, and I was like, I got to do more of this. Like, it was so much fun to capture it in 3D. And so whether you're using the thing that I can't name that. What's the one the guy that you have the Android? What's that called again? Can't hear you.
The Beam Pro.
The Beam Pro. And by the way, that's what we all want Apple to do, is what the Beam Pro is doing, which is spread that. The problem that you see very quickly with the iPhone 15 is that the interaxial distance is too close together. So it looks really good 3D, but only like 4 to 8 feet in front of you is where you get all the value. And then it starts to drop off really quickly because the Beam Pro is 2 or 3 times the interaxial distance, which is going to give you a much more 3D. And the same thing with the Kandao, because it's the Kandao is set up at interaxial, so it's it's exactly the same, and the same thing with the Beam Pro. So I recommend playing with these. They're a lot of fun, and now that I have something to watch them on, I think the biggest problem I had was that it was difficult to throw things. It was difficult for me to get things onto my MetaQuest. It's a little bit it was a hassle to put things on it. With the iPhone, now what you can do is you can do side by side with the Beam Pro or with the Kandao. You can now Compressor will just compress it into an HEVC MV, and you can just throw it into Photos and open it up. so Compressor will do the conversion from side by side to HEVC the way Apple wants it encased, or it'll take the HEVC and MV-HEVC and convert it to side by side. So that's all. That was in the last update for Compressor. So that's changed everything for me, is to be able to just I can now, so you could take the Beam Pro and convert it. And Guy, I'm hoping you'll send me some footage of side by sides. So have side by sides or the HEVC and going back and forth. We're pretty excited about it.
And as a dumb not stereo video gadget pick. I picked this up when I was trying to snake some cables through the walls for $30, a little borescope that has a little screen on it, and with a 16-foot.
Borescopes are so cool.
And, it's not great video quality, but when you're trying to see inside a wall, no app, no Bluetooth, no, it just works. And
Does that one have the
recharges.
little light? So like, do you need to snake a light? Oh yeah, very good.
And it recharges with USB-C, so you don't have to manage batteries. Next question. $30.
Another QR code question from Chad in Toledo. Is there a way to get a camera feed plus audio from a conference room on a different floor to an ATEM Extreme? Is that what a 2110 switch would be used for?
Go ahead, Guy.
That's a little overkill for 2110. I would get two of these things right here. This is the Zowie box, and for $169, you could put it either in. So this is NDI HX. That's the important thing to remember. So there's some less expensive ones that are NDI HX2, but they won't do what this one will do. And so here in the settings, you can just go, and this thing will do SRT. That's another way of getting it down there. But you just go into the system and you turn the working mode into encoder and decoder, and just make sure that your stream on NDI is the NDI HX3, and then just enable it, and that's the way that it goes for $169. It's the simplest, easiest way, and you can pick up that feed on any other computer in the network that you want, or you could just parse it off with a discovery server and make it so that only one person can see it. So a couple things to look at there.
Next question.
From the QR code, Gabriela Chesho Mistier and Sue Marie is asking, Jamie Fenn just posted a video for Blackmagic Design. Has the panel checked it out yet?
Go ahead, Alex.
I'm just not sure when just is. So there's a couple things from a day or 3 days ago. This is definitely a great place to put a URL in so that we know which one he's posted a bunch of stuff recently. So go ahead and post that question again, but with a URL, and then we'll know which one you're talking about.
Next question.
From the QR code, Oscar G. Elizondo in Los Angeles, California asks, Marka was great. Bring him back again. He is, and your show are very informative and entertaining.
Alex?
That was such a great show. If you didn't see it, if you're watching today and you didn't see the Wednesday show on sound systems for Carnival, oh my gosh! Like I was like, like Rand wanted to bring him on, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. That'll be an interesting Wednesday. I had no idea. I had no idea how great Marka was going to be, and how fascinating. Like the business model, the structure, the scale. It was one of our best shows. It just was really, really amazing. And Marka does a lot of other things in Trinidad. So hopefully we'll get him on again to talk about the other things that he works on. Because now I'm really fascinated by what that is, because it's just, these are 10 trucks, and it's basically each separated by about 100 meters. So it's like a half a mile and it's music bar. So imagine, and I saw some pictures, and it's like thousands of people walking for miles along with this procession, basically drinking rum and whiskey and all kinds of other things. I'm sure some water here and there, and listening to big music and just walking down thing for Carnival. And it just seems like such a crazy experience. And I'm now trying to figure out, I already told my wife I wanted the family to go, and we're going to try to figure it out, or at least us. We'll see. But we want to go. So so we're going to see if we can figure it out next March. It's the beginning of March next year. But it was just, if you didn't see that episode, definitely go back and look at it. It's really, really fun.
Next question.
Douglas Carmichael is asking, Jason, what remote access tool would you recommend for remote editing and production workflows? Screens look very well designed, but it doesn't pass audio.
Jason?
That's right. It doesn't pass audio. I have spent a career trying to avoid using any sort of remote anything to do editing. I don't like it, and if I have to do it, I would actually just open a Zoom window to get the audio. I don't see any way past that other than frame.io, which just continues to make this better. I'd rather get all the raws up in frame and then pull them all back down. So no, I don't have a better answer than that.
The other thing that you might consider is, if you do end up putting both of your machines on a tailscale network, if you've got a robust connection on either end and you use Apple Remote Desktop, and you use the high quality mode for screen sharing, it won't simply mirror the screen on the other end. It'll actually redraw it on your computer. And it feels very much like you're right in front of the machine. But audio is challenging because it's very precision, and all that latency makes us nervous. Next question.
From the QR code, Gerardo Algarin in Tepic, Mexico is asking, need to broadcast for a small TV station a series of soccer games. How about pixellot or similar versus PTZ cameras? Needs to be minimum personnel possible. And there's a link to the website there.
Alex?
Yeah, I haven't used pixellot. This is I'll show you this is the pixellot here. So this is it's looking at it in an AI sort of way. I don't know how this would affect your broadcast. It's doing a lot of analyzation, which might be useful, but I don't know if that's really going to, improve the broadcast itself for the TV viewers that are there. I think it is probably more complicated than what you want to do. I guess the question is, when you say this is what I want to do, how many people is minimum? So when you say minimum, you could say minimum, but is it one person, 3 people? We did a soccer game that a couple weeks ago that was, I think it was, and this was just for fun. I think there was 4 or 5 of us that did it. And, I think we could definitely done better, but we did better than a PTZ or a single person would do. So the big thing is that we had one wide shot that really covered, or one wide shot that was almost the whole field that went back and forth with an operator. And then we had 2 longer lenses that were kind of following people from either side. Now, what we looked at is we probably would have been greater to be closer to the field. And so we would probably go down a section. We were up pretty high. And so that was a little bit too high for what we did there. But I think as we started to get into a rhythm, it started to be, for a low budget solution, it started to be a relatively good broadcast. I mean, it's not going to replace what a major broadcaster would do, but I think that we did okay there. And so anyway, so I think that was that's what we did there, and we just had a little live view and we pushed it back. But I don't know if 4 or 5 is too many for what you're doing. I think you could do it with 4 or 5 people and get a reasonably good show out of it. PTZs are hard to do well unless you have a really good PTZ operator. Following sports with PTZs is not trivial, and it takes so much attention. You might as well have that person just using a camera. So it's not, there's not a lot of, and I haven't seen a lot of like auto. They are experimenting with it right now. The NBA, not the NBA, but NCAA is experimenting with basketballs that have trackers in them, so that it knows where the basketball is all the time. And it's a big weight problem, so that you can't feel the difference and it doesn't change the trajectory. But they're experimenting with it in college right now. My guess is that it'll eventually find its way to the big games. But it has a lot of other things because it's tracking it every frame, so it knows exactly what the ball is doing. There's a whole bunch of data there that's really, really interesting to broadcasters. The funny thing is that they're not doing that with footballs because the footballs change too much. Like with heat and everything else, they're really, really hard to put any kind of tracker in them without affecting the trajectory. So I think that those kinds of things would let you do an auto track that would just kind of softly keep the ball in place, but it's still pretty far away.
And coming in from the Makana chat, Gerardo, Chris Sabato says that the pixellot are good for coaches in high schools who just want video but aren't super concerned about quality. So for a broadcast, you may want to explore a little more robust of a solution.
And Chris Sabato, by the way, if you're asking that question, Chris Sabato is often on the weekends here. So if you see him on Saturday, you might want to ask that question again. He might talk to it in more detail.
And he is so smart.
Yeah. When it comes to this, he's the guy.
This is his thing.
This is his thing.
Next question.
This is from Omar Gadon in Orange County, California. I have GL.iNet routers, MT3000. I use for mobile productions. I use them to serve DHCP to my production gear, as well as bring in internet through its WAN port. What's the best way to separate these functions while maintaining a compact solution?
Jason?
I think what you need is an incredibly functional switch that can also be a router. I really fell in love with Ubiquiti stuff with this $59 Edge Router X. You can set up separate, like every single port on this can be completely separate, and it can be used to route in between the two or to actually set up your own combinations of each configuration, serving out DHCP separately per NIC. There's nothing smaller and more performant than that.
That's going to do it for an All Q&A Friday. Thank you very much to everyone for being here. Thank you to the panelists for coming and sharing all of your knowledge and life experience. There's no one of us that's as smart of all of us, and I love a great panel because I always leave feeling enriched. Thank you to the back end for operating on with some of our crew doing other big events somewhere in the world. We appreciate everybody pulling double duty in some cases and keeping us alive, but also on the back end teams developing the software that runs the show, doing all the organization. We appreciate you, and thank you to the producers and asking questions. If we didn't have you, it's a really short show. You help us program it every single day, and we run not just on your questions, but also on your generosity. So if you like what you're seeing and you want to see more, consider supporting us at officehours.global/donate. To Lalic Traversal today, we've got 41,000 miles at 67,000 kilometers, 328 million bananas for scale. We'll see you in after hours.
The banana phone's ringing. I got to take this. Sorry, you guys aren't nearly as important.
I'm confident when I finally unpack into the bigger space, I will find the bananas.
You moved. You lost everything. Of course you. Yeah.
I think we need to write a banana theme song for this show.
To have an air tag on that banana.
You can't beat Rafi's banana phone. Sorry, not going to happen.
Ring. I got a card yesterday that was an AirTag that was like, it's the size of a credit card. My brother gave it to me from Nomad. He said it was like $40, but it was so light and recharges with MagSafe or recharges with a Qi charger. So like you don't have to just throw it away when it dies.
Oh, Peak, take more of my money.
Yeah, check the Nomad. They were really slick. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
That's a flex going out on bars. I'm sure the national anthem's playing back there.